Hello and welcome to Tai'Shar Manethrin, a Wheel of Time podcast. I'm Will.
I'm Sam.
Today we are continuing on in Winter's Heart, and we are going to be starting off in chapter 15. Before we get started, I want to remind you that you can always donate on our website, tsmpodcast.com. Click on the little yellow donate button at the top left. That helps us just pay for the expenses involved in having the podcast. But if you don't want to donate, we're glad you're here. And thanks so much for joining us. Like I said, we're in chapter 15. So Sam, you ready to take us away?
Chapter 15, In Need of a Bell Founder. And this is maybe one of the few I'll actually say is a read. And it's only because it's Matt.
Yeah.
That wall didn't fall on his head after all. That's right. It took us a book and a half to find out for sure. I mean, talk about a cliffhanger. That's crazy. Didn't escape unscathed, recovering from his injuries, and is stuck in Shan-Chan-occupied Ibudar. He is in the midst of trying to convince Aludra to show him how to make fireworks, because he wants to make cannons using the technology to drive the Shan-Chan out of Ibudar. She doesn't want to tell him, though, even after he tells her that the main Illuminator chapter house in Tanchico is probably destroyed. She might be the last of the Illuminators. Anyway, they kicked her out, so, why not spill their secrets? But She doesn't care about that, isn't impressed by the Shan-Chan Damani skylights, and is not giving him anything.
Mm-hmm.
Aludra says, think you're the first one to think of using fireworks for war? I've been thinking about it for ages. Here's a riddle. Why would I need a bell founder? So if Matt can figure that out, Aludra will tell him all of her secrets, even the ones that will make him blush. Matt has no idea, so she says, come back in a few days. As he walks out, she says, his butt looks great in those pants. Dang it, Thailand. This is going to be a common theme for Matt. Matt goes looking for Tom and Beslin, and they're with Luca in his circus. Matt and Luca don't really get along, probably because they're a little bit alike, I would say. Matt thinks he could have Van and steal horses, but he's not desperate enough to try to do that yet to get out of town. Figures Rand and Perrin are in front of a warm fireplace swilling wine. The thought of them swirls colors in his head. Just really a strange concept, color swirling in your head. Like, I'm just imagining fireworks going off or something.
That's new in this book, too. And they acknowledge it when it happens. At the same time, it isn't explained. Like, this is a new thing that has started happening.
Like, what is like the Taviran getting stronger or worse? Or
what is it?
It's like a progressive disease.
Exactly. Yeah, my Taviran's really flaring up today.
Right, I need to sit down. I got a headache.
And get
the color swirling in my head.
And anybody have any epinephrine shots?
I don't think I should drive or ride a horse. Matt doesn't like the color swirling in his head, and he doesn't want to. So he's trying not to think about them, which works about as well as telling someone to not think about a white elephant. You are, aren't you? All of you thinking about that dude, that white elephant.
Yeah.
Mind is a strange thing. Oh, I was going to say, I came up with that from our Psych 101 class, Will. That was that was something from that. I still have that book, actually. Textbook's only one of the only ones I kept. I just loved that dude said he didn't give lectures because he's like, everything I would say is in the book. Huh. Anyway, Matt collects Oliver, and one of the ladies watching him pinches Matt's bottom. Tom says Luca agreed to take them when he leaves for a high price, but he isn't going anywhere till spring, which is not going to work. Beslin says Thailand isn't going to help Matt leave. Oliver wants to get back for a reading lesson with Lady Rizal. Matt groans from his injuries, but also because the dice are spinning in his head again. And he knows that means something bad is coming.
Interesting.
Chapter 16, An Unexpected Encounter. Oh, I also had this one down as a read. Crazy.
Yeah.
Matt and company walk back into Ibudar from Luca's circus troupe, Dice a-tumbling. That would get annoying to have Dice just rattling around in there. Does he feel Dice tumbling around while he's sleeping? It's like having a Nickelback song stuck in your head all day, which I guess wouldn't be as bad anymore. Like, I hear about Nickelback. It used to be the go-to band to hate, but
I still feel like most millennials would be on board with you. Like, yeah, we all still kind of hate Nickelback.
Absolutely.
Look at this giraffe.
Right. Despite the takeover by the Shan-Chan, the city is mostly undamaged. Everyone, including Matt, had to take the Shan-Chan oath. There are heads on display beside the gate, including the heads of two people we actually knew, Nesta Din Reyes, Two Moons, and her Blade Master Barak, which they sort of died off screen, I guess, during the Shan-Chan takeover, which is kind of sad.
Yeah.
Dude, I named my orc warrior after, and wow, he's heads on a spike.
And I always love Nesta Din Reyes, Two Moons, a go-go, shamalama ding dong.
Right, exactly. But you gotta have some characters actually die. I mean, because otherwise it just gets kind of obvious that no one's ever dying. Or if they do die, they come back to Forsaken to die.
Yeah.
There are also plenty of Soldam and Damani checking Outlanders for people who channel. Plenty of Shan-Chan in the streets, and not just soldiers. Farmers with strange-looking chickens, other non-combatants. I'm just picturing like a chicken that's been spray painted green for some reason. I don't know.
I was picturing like a chicken with like 3 wings, or just like with like
tomahawk, just on its head, just a punk rock chicken.
Yeah, with
leather
some kind
jacket.
And a weird kind of look to their beak, or the little gobbler thing on their head, or whatever they call that.
Riding a motorcycle. I don't know. This is going a different direction in my head for some
goth chicken. Chicken.
I was going punk, but goth too.
I'm going in a different direction from you. So it looks like he's got Alice Cooper kind of eyeliner and everything.
I'm good. I'm good with that. I would shake that chicken's beak, hand.
That
wing.
would be. I mean, that would be a strange looking chicken.
Yes, it would. Or maybe these are peacocks or parrots. I don't know.
As
far as Matt knows,
that's a good point. It could just be a different bird entirely.
Think about them coming from Madagascar or something. And
I'm reminded of the classic Vine, of the girl with the seagulls. Look at all those chickens.
Right. Oh man. So Matt doesn't want to go back and face Thailand, so he goes tavern hopping in the hope of finding a dice game. No luck there, all overcrowded, so he reluctantly heads toward the palace via alleys. In one, he trips and falls just before the golem can knife him.
Yikes.
Matt wards it off with a fox head medallion, and a man shouts from the street. Golem slithers into a hole in the wall before anyone else can see him. The old man who saved him introduces himself as Noel Charin. And he will hang around. This is a character we'll see.
Yes.
It's not just a one-off character.
Yeah, it was like a book ago that we had a very brief perspective from Noel, and if you didn't know that, you wouldn't know that.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, exactly. It's very forgettable. It's kind of pointless, really. But you get the picture that Noel's he's been like checking up on Matt for a little while.
Yeah.
But he's one that he's a great example of another character that it's like, hey, let's throw another character at you. And you're like, I totally even just kind of glossed over this introduction, and like a while later I'm like, wait, who is this? When did he come in?
Mm-hmm.
And but he's a pretty cool character.
He is, yeah.
So
we will find out more about him. At this point, we just think he's kind of this bumbling old man. So he says he's planning to sleep in the alley tonight after getting kicked out of his room at an inn. Matt says, "Nah, man, you saved my life. Come back to the palace. Plenty of room with my men after that thing slaughtered a few of them earlier in these books." So on to chapter 17, Pink Ribbons. I'm going to probably go with... Actually, I keep saying I'm going to say these are scams. I'm going to say this one's a read, too. Things keep happening in these chapters, so this is also a read. We're catching up with Matt after a book and a half away. Things have to happen.
Yeah.
So chapter 17, Pink Ribbons. And I say that, it's still not a big thing. It's just meetings.
Well,
lots of meetings.
Like you're saying, it's just we're getting all of Matt like one after the other. And it's actually like continuing on along the same lines. So
Exactly. So Matt and Noel head back to the palace. Matt leaves him with his men, letting him know Noel saved his life. Tells them about the golem like a grand gleeman's tale, downplaying Noel's own role as a bumbling oaf and making Matt look like the hero. Matt tries to get the Red Arms to leave the city because of the golem being back, of course, but they refuse. Matt leaves to go get cleaned up. Every servant he sees offers to draw him a bath so Thailand won't see him all muddy.
Which that's a funny idea. Like, I mean, if they have that as a running gag throughout multiple scenes where, can I draw you a bath, sir?
Right. Would you like a bath?
And No, I don't want a bloody bath. You
Leave
can hear
me alone. One thing Matt doesn't understand is why the dice are still rattling in his head. Wasn't the golem the danger? Usually when something threatens his life like that, the dice stop. But they didn't this time. So Matt runs into Julian and tries to persuade him to leave the city too, but he also refuses. You're wasting your breath, man. Not going to happen. There's still stuff to do. Matt walks into Tylan's room and the dice stop dead. What the heck? He has interrupted a meeting with the Shan-Chan, Tuon, and Suroth. Suroth is mad because Matt has clearly been assaulted and Tylan has told her that the city was safe. Matt says, "Nah, I tripped. And also I got injured when y'all showed up throwing lightning around." So Tuon gives him the up and down, looks at Tylan and says, "How much?" He's like, he's a free man. Tuon says Tylan will be raised to the blood and invites her back to Tuon's rooms to look at maps of Altera and what the Shan-Chan are going to give her. So, but before they go, Matt pulls Tylan aside and says the golem attacked him. So her response is to tell him to put pink ribbons on for when she returns.
And, this is just following up from the last episode, but it is fun that we absolutely know at this point why the dice stopped.
Yep, it's Tuon. It's your wifey.
Yep, there she is. And you have no clue.
Yeah, I won't find out for a good while yet.
Yep.
Chapter 18, An Offer. This one's probably more of a skimmer.
Mm-hmm.
Next day, Matt walks around the city listening to gossip about the Shan-Chan. Anytime someone mentions Rand, he sees them colors swirling about. Matt realizes that if they're ever going to get out of the city, he's going to need to store up some gold away from the palace. So he goes back to the Wandering Woman, and Mistress Annan has a loose floor tile in the kitchen he can use. So he sends Lopin and Niram back with the clothes and as much gold as they can carry in their pockets every day that they go. He also does find a bell founder, though the dude is no help at all when it comes to why Eludra would need a bell founder. Mm-hmm. And Matt is in his way because the palace has commissioned a bunch of bells and he's going to make them. So back at the palace, Matt walks in on Tuon examining his Ashandarai. She wants to buy that too, and he says the price is too high, being hung.
Right.
Matt gets antsy and decides to go check on his gold back at the Wandering Woman. Chapter 19, Three Women. Back to the Wandering Woman. The cook gives Matt a smoked fish or something. As he finishes eating, Mistress Annan walks in with another woman. It's Jolene, and I'm going to resist the urge to sing.
You mean Jolene?
Yeah, yep.
Jolene?
I do.
Jolene?
Jolene.
There it is.
She's been hiding from the Shan-Chan because, of course, she's an Aes Sedai and doesn't want to be collared. Mistress Annan has already told her Matt will smuggle her out of the city. But just as they're talking, Aeginin and Bail Doman burst in without knocking, and Matt pretends to make out with Jolene because, of course, he does. Does that trick ever work in real life? I don't feel like I could pull it off.
I would like to know, listeners. Oh, who am I kidding? None of our listeners probably know. But
if you have any examples of
if any of you know of this working,
you just you're trying to hide your face, like pretend or don't pretend to make out with someone so that they're not paying attention to you. I feel like that's drawing the attention to you, though. I mean, I know there's the idea here. And, Aeginin is clearly disgusted by them making out in the kitchen.
It's so funny. I mean, there's a moment in an episode of Community where a character tries to do this,
right?
Where he runs up and he's like, "Kiss me, I'll explain later," and she's like, "No," and he's "I'll explain later," and he says, "The explanation isn't the issue."
Right? Yes, indeed. Very well put. I think so. But Aeginin's really just interested in talking to the innkeeper about a room, her best rooms. But they're already taken by other Shan-Chan anyway, and Mr. Sanan just pretty much is like, I don't know, y'all figure it out. Y'all are all Shan-Chan. I'm not going to get involved here. Whoever is the highest ranking can have the best rooms. Matt agrees to try to help Jolene get out of the city and says, I'll be back later. Goes back to the palace. Goes to the attic where the Damani are kept, tracks down Teslan Baradun. After talking to her, promises to help one of the other Aes Sedai, who's a Damani too, Edicina, who cares what her last name is. On the way out, he runs into Tuon again. Man, she's everywhere. Tells her he was taking a pastry to a windfinder he knew before she was a Damani. And Tuon likes this idea because she thinks it's good to be kind to Damani as long as he isn't trying to get frisky, which is apparently morally repugnant to the Shan-Chan. What a weird people. I mean, I guess it makes sense that these, this like lady is chained and can't go anywhere. So, if she, there's some weirdness there, but
I don't know.
But that's not at all what was going on here. So you can see why their culture might have like some stuff around that. Maybe. I mean, it's already bad. They're already, they're already enslaving people. So whatever.
They have their boundaries.
Yep, they do. They do. Matt leaves in search of Tom and Julin. Time to find a way out of here.
I will say, Jolene, the character, I would bet good money that we will not see her in the show, despite how often she pops up.
She's pretty forgettable. I would be okay with the character not existing and or in these various scenes just being some other Aes Sedai that we know.
Right.
You could easily just sub in, I don't know, Alana here or...
Right. Yeah. Which would probably be a little more interesting, especially if she was struggling with the bond at this point.
That's exactly the kind of thing that's going to happen. There's just going to be...
Right.
We've got thousands of characters. We're not going to have thousands of, people with lines, hundreds maybe, but not thousands. And so there's going to be some consolidation that occurs, just like I mean, Game of Thrones certainly did that. So that's completely valid. Chapter 20, Questions of Treason, a Bethaman perspective. So I'm going to say this one's a hard skim, maybe skip, depending on how impatient you feel, which is fair. Bethaman and Rena go to the Damani kennels in the Terrazin Palace attic. Bethaman picks up on a change of attitude by Teslan, despite the latter's attempts to act meek and compliant. Bethaman writes an order to make Teslan's conditioning even more harsh in order to break her spirit and make her a true Damani. It's hard to focus because Bethaman thinks about what happened at Falma and the secret she carries, how she found Rena and Sita collared. The fact that also Soul Dom could be Damani could break the Shan-Chan if it became common knowledge. And then back at her in the Golden Swans of Heaven, the seeker for truth is waiting for her. I bet Jordan just giggled every time he came up with a silly inn name. Easing the Badger, Golden Swans of Heaven. Seeker of truth for truth orders Bethaman to spy on Aeginin for him. He believes she is in a conspiracy with Bail Doman and Aes Sedai that is tied to High Lord Turok's death. And it's funny because it's like, kind of. Yeah. There's definitely, you squint and it's there. But.
Right.
Chapter 21, A Matter of Property. Aeginin point of view. We're still in the slog in case you forgot. It's worth it for this book's ending, though.
Right.
It's always sloggiest before the dawn.
Or
something, yeah.
Yeah. It's like my granddad always said.
Exactly. Aeginin and Bail Doman wanted to throw the male Idam into the ocean, but they got intercepted by the self-same seeker for truth. Man, what a strange word, self-same. It means exactly the same, the one mentioned.
There you go.
It's just a weird word. Played it off by saying that it was a present for the Empress. May she live forever. Bail Doman says, free me and marry me. Aeginin wants to, just change of pace there. But is also shocked he would ask and not sure how to make it happen safely. Bethaman walks in and we're reminded that Aeginin once collared her. She spills the beans about the Seeker and his conspiracy theory, tells Aeginin about Rena and Sita too, and how they are never allowed to leash to a Damani anymore and are kept close to High Lady Suroth. Aeginin tells her to check in every day and be on your way. She wants to back to Doman, and she really wants to free him and send him away, but he's like, nope, you're gonna do this right. I'm gonna stay here with you. We're gonna get away. But he did see Matt in the Wandering Woman kitchen, despite Aeginin missing that, and says they should ask him and Tom for help. And Aeginin thinks maybe there is something to the Seeker's conspiracy after all. But Bail says, nah, so she sends him to find Matt. On to chapter 22, which is the last chapter in this episode. Out of thin air, this is a Rand point of view, and he's made it to Far Madding, which is our new kind of setting, I guess. It's kind of a cool setting. I don't know. There's some cool imagery here. There's some doodads, some giant terangriel in use.
Formatting is a pretty interesting place, and this is an interesting scene. Like
it is, yeah.
It's kind of presented in a kind of dramatic way.
It is. So the idea with formatting is no one can channel in there. That's like a steading. There's like there's a Tiran Grail in the middle of the city that prevents anybody from channeling. And when you come in, you have to like give them your sword, and they like wrap it up with wire so that you can't pull your sword out and fight with it. So they're just like, formatting is we're going to be a chill place. I could see this being like where weed is legal. This is like Amsterdam, but with no channeling, because you can channel in Amsterdam, of course. I don't know. This Rand's point of view, and he's trailing Roshide, who is, one of those rogue Ashaman.
Right.
Having lured him to formatting by rumors.
Lews Theron is kind of like going crazy in his head at this point.
Yeah. So
he's kind of like, this is a dumb plan.
Yeah, the fact that they don't have the source is like really upsetting him at this point. Rand bumps into an Aiel and is really just kind of upset by it, because the dude is like, looks like a merchant now. Like he's an Aiel that has thrown down his spear because of what Rand revealed, and is just determined to follow the way of the leaf. And it's like there's different, the different kind of expressions of that. And this dude just thinks the best thing he can do is like go become a merchant or something, which is, can't imagine that's going well. So, but that guy just leaves. Rand follows Roshide into an alley, and then he's kind of gone. And then, oh wait, here he is, and he's attacking Rand. And he is, it's funny. They talk about these bindings, like the peace bindings on the sword, and which are immediately broken. What was the point of that all anyway?
They're not terribly effective. Yeah, I guess it's kind of like one of those a lock is for an honest man kind of.
Sure. And Roshide has like made it look like it's still his sword is still bound when it isn't. And so that's a good way to put it. Rand attacks even though he's been ambushed, and pretty much like is about to kill Roshide with his bare hands. Then his buddy Kisman shows up, another rogue Ashaman, but Rand is able to use his Tavir and Spidey sense to duck just in time, and Kisman kills Roshide, just runs him through. Rand takes Roshide's sword, and they hear guards shouting in the distance, so Kisman runs off, and Rand runs off also, so they won't be found with a dead body. Switching to Kisman's point of view, who is annoyed that what just happened, basically.
Mm-hmm.
And then suddenly Padon Fane shows up and kills him and just like nicks him with a dagger, and Kisman's like, ow, owie, and then just dies horribly, of course, because it's the Shadar Logoth dagger.
Yes.
Well, that was kind of pointless.
This seems to be a major hazard for minor characters.
Right. Just Padon Fane popping up.
Sudden Padon Fane.
Right.
Oh, no.
Right. Well, that was unfortunate. So switch back to Rand now that that's dude. Of course, Rand doesn't know this dude's been killed. He's still looking for him. Turns to the inn he's staying at with Min, etc., and not Nynaeve. And so he tells him what happened, and Min's like, you just killed a dude and you're okay? Like, man, what? That's not okay. It's not okay that you're okay, dude.
Like, I feel like we spend so much time in our culture saying it's okay to not be okay.
Right.
That we never say, hey, like, it's not okay to be okay.
Right. And we don't murder enough folks, I guess. That's the difference.
That's true.
Maybe if we had more experience with murder, it'd be like, well, you should be less okay that you just murdered that gentleman.
Right.
But that's called being a sociopath. Rand, are you a sociopath, bro?
I do feel like there's an argument to be made, though. Like, if you're okay and amidst the last couple of years, then, you might be a little emotionally oblivious.
Right. Yeah, I would say so. That's fair. So switching to Luke's perspective, Isam, it's both Isam and Luke, really, I suppose.
Yeah.
He's in Teleron Riyadh. He steps into the real world and kills some folks who are sleeping, but is unfortunately not Rand and Men, I think, is who was supposed to be, right? I think that's maybe I'm mistaken.
I don't know. Yeah, it's not totally clear.
He's supposed to be killed somebody important.
Anytime we have Isom/Luke, it's not clear to me what's going on. I feel like it's just, I don't know. It's just always like, what's this guy? What's his deal? Like, he's Luke in the real world. He's Isom in the.
Yeah, it's very confusing and convoluted. He's like kind of like a forsaken hitman, I guess.
Right.
That's the idea.
Yeah. And he's these two characters that were minor characters from the past that like merged together, and
right.
He's also known as Slayer. Mm-hmm. I don't know. Yeah, it's confusing to me.
It is indeed confusing. So talk to someone, the Forsaken, which I think is supposed to be Moradin. I don't know for sure. I guess it could have been Demandred. I think it's Moradin.
Sure.
And the Forsaken says, "Don't try to find someone to kill again until I give you the word." Oh man, I really wanted to kill my nephew, which of course is Rand, I guess. Becomes Isam again, which the whole like two personalities things that have been merged by Din Shao-Gul. Very confusing. Just all around confusing characters. That brings us to the end of chapter 22.
All right. Well, thanks, guys, for listening. You can always contact us on all of our socials, Podcast TSM, or visit our website, tsmpodcast.com, fill out our contact form, and say hey, and we'll respond to you on a mailbag show update episode. Anyway, thanks for listening, and until next time, Tai'Shar Manetheren.